Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Vaughn Studios. Today, I have a bit of a different project for you all. I'm not going to waste your time on it. I went to the Am I an A-hole subreddit, and I will be reading you a couple stories that I find. All right, now let's jump straight into it. Am I the a-hole for refusing to switch my son to an all-vegan diet? I, 22 female, have a 3-year-old son with my ex, 27 male. When I found out I was pregnant, we were together for 2 years. He had proposed 2 months before it was public, and we both posted about it. At first, he was excited, but then, when I was 7 months, he broke up with me and moved out. I asked if he was going to be involved, and he said no and blocked me everywhere. Our son is now 3. Earlier this year, he reached out to me saying he's matured and regrets not being in our son's life. I asked him, I asked how he's matured and what's changed in 3 years. He's been no contact and has been, and he said that he has a new lifestyle and this and that. Come to find, he's married to a hardcore hippie vegan and living in a completely different life. He lives on a farm now with a lot of animals. None, none he makes profit off of. I was beyond shocked. He also doesn't smoke or drink and is just so different. I spoke to my boyfriend, friends, and parents. They said I should give him a chance. He offered to start paying for his daycare and has been since May. I allowed him to meet my son in a supervised setting at the farm. I wanted to see horses and animals, lol. And I met his wife. She inherited the farm and completely resigned it. She was teaching me and my sisters about her raw organic vegan lifestyle. And fed us potato stew she made. It was really good, and I thought things went well. They seemed trustable. We've done a few more supervised visits throughout the year, and I only now feel comfortable letting him stay overnights alone. They feed him vegan and I don't mind. The issue is they sat me down recently and asked me that I start feeding him vegan full time since it's much better for him and the world. And that since he wants more involvement, it makes sense he has a plant based lifestyle. I said no, I myself am not a vegan and they are not even the vegan chicken nuggets from Walmart type. They are strictly raw fruits and vegetables that that's asking me to learn new a whole new type of cooking. They offered to meal prep during my time. He said in 2024 he wants 50-50 custody, but that if I be difficult, he will go for full custody, citing our age and income difference, and I will still live with and I still live with my parents. I told him my threatening me. He can see me in court and left. One of my sisters that came with me to a few of the visits has been vegetarian for many years, and she says I'm being unreasonable since it's healthier for him. They even offered to cook all his meals that by eating vegan for a while it will mess up his digestive system if he eats meat and to just choose one, and that since it's a lifestyle for them and he will be involved in it to just agree on it. Am I the a hole? Hang on. Let me clear my throat for a moment. I do not believe you're the a hole in this situation. You. They left before they were born. They came back and wanted to be a part of the kid's life. That's good. That's great. but then asking for the mother to change how the child's eat eaten, and for the mother to have, if she even agreed to it, would have to learn a whole different style of cooking. I don't think that's worth that much work. And him threatening to take away your child, it's not really his child, seeing as how he disappeared for the child's life. So I I don't know. Um, am I the a hole for not allowing my sister to use my farm as her wedding venue? My late grandpa started his farm whilst he was in his early 20s. There were financial problems along the way, but he became successful and became rich. My late grandpa died last year. Grew up in the average working class home. My parents come from rich families and we went to private schools and Ivy colleges. My mother and father always wanted three kids, two girls, one boy. I am the youngest out of the three girls. My parents were desperately hoping their last child would be a boy, but since I was a girl, they were resentful to me and they didn't show any love to me, and I was pretty much treated like Cinderella because my parents showed resentments towards me. My sisters did too, and I was bullied by them, and they got away with it. We were treated differently as they both went to private schools and private colleges. They also were allowed to do whatever they want. They wanted and eat whenever they want. I went to public school, public college. I was only allowed to eat 3 meals a day. Don't mind going to public school, but I'm just trying to show how I was treated differently. At the weekends, was shipped off to my grandmother's so they could have family time. At the age of 12, I asked my grandmother if I could live with her, and she agreed. As soon as I asked my parents, they immediately said yes and started packing my bags. Whilst going to my grandmother's at the weekend, she made me work on the farm. Even whilst living with her permanently, she continued to make me work on the farm at the weekends. I hated that. I worked I have to work on the farms, and looking back on it now, I realize why she made me do it, as she made me work on the farm as a source of therapy, as I constantly arguing, and her animals were my therapy. I remember spending most days sitting with the horses and feeding the chickens. I also spent a lot of time running across their fields. My grandmother sadly passed away last year, and she left the whole estate to me, which my family wasn't pleased about. I decided to leave my job as a lawyer and work full time on the farm. And I'm so much happier. When my grandmother was alive, she you also used a part of her fields for wedding venues and events. She also allowed charities to have events on her farm free of charge. 2 months ago, my sister got in contact with me after 4 years of no contact, and she's engaged and asked me if she could use Grandma's field as a wedding venue, as she would like to get married. The thing is, I can't let go of the past, and I have started therapy, but I told her I need some time to think about it. My first thought was to charge my sister a price for the venue and make it a price she couldn't afford, but it didn't feel right, so I simply said no. Now she passed my number on to my parents and my other sister, and they all are saying this is my grandmother's farm and she should be allowed to get married on the farm. and I should even do it for free. My emotions are pretty high right now, and I need to know if I am the a hole. Okay, you you're not in the a hole, and you're not in the wrong. You feel that because of what happened in the past, they should not. Your sister should not be allowed to use your farm that is now yours for her wedding. Now, that is your choice to make. The farm is in your name now. It is yours to do whatever you want with it. But for your sister to try and push you to have her wedding there is just kind of insane to me. And moving on to story number three. Am I the a hole for going every other weekend when I have a baby at home? I will be brief. I have an infant at home and three stepkids. I've gone out every other weekend since my wife gave birth. I've gone out roughly 3, 4 hours with a buddy of mine. She thinks that I should be home making dinner every single weekend because she cooks during the week while taking care of the baby and the other kids. School's been shut down for 2 weeks due to water contamination. I work from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm at home every night after work, and every other weekend I stay at home. She says she doesn't get breaks, and she says I'm not even saying you can't go out, but seriously, pull your head out of your behind and cook dinner and take some slack off of me. I do cook dinners Fridays and Sundays every week, and the Saturdays, weekends, I'm home. I think I deserve the Saturday. She deserves a break too, but is currently breastfeeding the baby who won't take a bottle. We nearly try every other night. Therefore, she will get breaks, but right now we are at a difficult stage. Her friends, of course, think I'm a raging D because when I don't work, they think I could stay home the entire time and cook and clean and take care of the kids. I'm only giving myself 1 day every 2 weeks, but apparently this is not good enough. I shouldn't be having breaks because my wife isn't able to in their eyes. Am I the a hole? Um, well, I don't believe you would be considered the a hole in this situation because this, I mean, you are allowed a break, and of course, your wife's friends are going to be on your, not your side, her side. That's how it works. But you deserve a break. You don't have to be there every single second. Now, your wife also deserves a break, but like you said, she can't take a break. But it it's confusing. But no, you are not the a hole. All right, next one. Am I the a hole for escalating a complaint that my daughter was being forced to help the struggling kids in class? Okay, so my daughter has always been ahead of her grade academically cause of my wife's places on heavy importance on studies and helps her with her academics. My wife used to be a teacher before she became a shunham. Uh, so a couple months ago, she started complaining about her grade work being too easy and having to just sit down without having anything to do until the rest of her classmates finish their work. I brought up these concerns with her teacher, and she said she would look into what she could do about it. Turns out she decided to make my daughter help the kids who were falling behind after she finished her work. She started to complain about it to me, and she really hates helping them because they are weird and don't understand even after I explain it to them, and I have to help them through it step by step in her words. I sent the teacher an email that and it said she would take it into consideration. However, nothing changed, and I decided to make my concerns with her school management and told them if they can't prioritize my daughter's learning, then there were plenty of good private schools in the area. This got her teacher to back off and stop making her help the struggling students. However, my wife is mad at me because she knows how hard it is to be a teacher, and they don't need parents making complaints to their bosses since they already have a rough time. I told her it was her choice to send her to public school, didn't want to send her to private school because that would apparently teach her that she is better than people who can't afford the tuition. I wanted her to go to a nice private school that that's where I got my education and was significantly better than the one you spend in public school. And that if they're going to if they couldn't do what's best for our kid, I wasn't going to let that happen. Ooh, you might be a little bit of an a-hole. I mean, the teacher was most definitely one because forcing your daughter just because she's smarter than everyone in the class doesn't mean she has to help them because of what because they don't understand it. That does not seem fair in the slightest. So, no, no, you on. All right, next one. Am I the a hole for telling my wife I won't go on work trips anymore? My wife and I have a almost 2 year old child. We are in Canada, so my wife took about 15 months of parental leave and went back to work this past July. I also took 3 months of parental leave when our child was born. For the first 3 months, we did everything together. However, I will admit that for a lot of the period between when I went back to work and when she was on mat leave, I didn't do as much as I could, and I'll never forgive myself for that. I've apologized to her for that, and I know it was hard. Since she's gone back to work, it's been being a 50-50. This includes planning and the mental load and not just being told what to do. In the back half of this year, I've um, I've had to make a few work trips to the US. The first one I declined because my wife couldn't make that time off going to the office. The second one I really had to go. It was 2 days and my wife said it was okay. However, during the entire trip, she was a bit cold and when I came back, she told me how tiring it was and it came up into fights too. That I left her alone and she had to do everything. I had to go out again this past week. When I learned about the trip, I told my wife I'm not going because I know she had a hard time. This trip was one night only, and she said no, I absolutely must go. She will be fine, so I said yes. Again, the day before the trip, she made a sarcastic remark about me leaving her alone during the trip, and she kept telling me how tired she was. When I got back, she yelled at me again, asking why I didn't get her a souvenir, and that she didn't have to do everything at home, and she was so tired of not feeling well. So I said, okay, I understand. I won't go out on any work trips in the future. She called me an a-hole and said I was gaslighting her. She said she just needed me to listen and not make everything about myself. I don't really know what to do. I explicitly asked her and said I wouldn't go on this trip. She said yes. Then she said it was too much. So I said I wouldn't go in the future. Now she says I'm an a-hole. Well, no. I there's you are not the a-hole. You asked her if you said you would stay out of this to benefit her, and she told you to go on your trip, and then she complained about it. That's not a good relationship. That's a toxic one. So you are not the a-hole. That is on your life entirely. Now, I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe because I don't know if I'll be doing another one of these again. So just make sure you subscribe so you can get notified when I do. I will see you all in the next one. And as always, have a good rest of your day.